I still remember the heat that morning. Even before the sun fully rose above Pompeii, people were already sweating. The streets smelled like bread, olive oil, fish from the harbor, and seawater drifting in from the Bay of Naples. It was loud that morning. Street vendors shouted across crowded markets. Metal workers hammered bronze inside narrow shops. Children chased stray dogs through the streets, while bakers prepared bread before sunrise. Nobody was afraid. That's the strange part. Nobody looked at Mount Vesuvius and thought they were about to die. To us, it was just a mountain. Beautiful, quiet, familiar. Couples laughed together in the streets. Rich families prepared large afternoon meals while servants carried wine beneath the summer heat. Some people argued over fruit prices in the market. Others complained about the weather. It felt ordinary, completely ordinary. And maybe that's what makes it terrifying now. Because disaster never announces itself the way you think it will. At first, it was only a sound. A deep crack somewhere high above the city. Not loud enough to stop people. Not loud enough to create panic. Just enough to make people pause for a moment and look toward the mountain. Then, the birds disappeared. I remember that clearly. Hundreds of birds suddenly lifting into the sky all at once. Dogs began barking in the streets. Some people laughed nervously, others kept walking. Most of us had felt earthquakes before. Pompeii trembled often. The ground shook so frequently that people barely reacted anymore. But this felt different. The air changed. That was the first moment I felt afraid. Not terrified, not yet. Just a strange feeling deep in my stomach, like something in the world had suddenly become wrong. The smell hit next. I still remember that smell. Even now, I think I would recognize it instantly. Sulfur, sharp, burning, like the sky itself had caught fire somewhere beyond the mountain. People started covering their noses with pieces of cloth. Then someone screamed. I remember turning toward the sound and seeing ash drifting through the air for the first time. At first, it almost looked beautiful, like gray snow floating slowly above the city. Some people actually stopped to watch it. Others pointed toward the mountain. Nobody understood how bad it was about to become. The ash began falling harder within the hour. It settled into people's hair, onto their skin, inside their mouths. Every breath tasted dry, bitter, and sharp against the throat. People started coughing constantly. Some covered their mouths with cloth. Others simply stood frozen in the street staring upward. Children started crying. Mothers pulled them indoors. Shop owners rushed to close wooden shutters. People began gathering valuables, coins, jewelry, food, anything they thought they might need if they had to leave. But many still stayed. That's what haunts me most. Most people stayed. I understand why. Leaving meant abandoning your home, your family belongings, your business, your entire life. Most people still believed this would end. No one alive had ever seen anything like this before. By afternoon, the sky had turned darker than night. Torches appeared across the streets while ash continued falling harder and harder. People began shouting over each other. Some prayed, some ran, some froze completely. I remember hearing the sound of rooftops collapsing somewhere deeper inside the city. One crash, then another, and another. The ash had become too heavy. People started pushing through the streets trying to reach the harbor. Families became separated in the darkness. I remember hearing people calling names through the darkness. Children screamed for parents they could no longer see. Parents screamed for their children. And sometimes, nobody answered back. Animals ran wildly through the streets covered in gray dust. The city no longer looked real. Pompeii looked like the end of the world. And still, the mountain kept exploding. The heat became unbearable by evening, not normal summer heat. This felt different, heavy, violent, like the air itself had become dangerous. Breathing hurt. Every inhale felt thick with ash and smoke. People wrapped cloth across their faces just trying to survive another minute. Some hid inside their homes, hoping the walls would protect them. Others refused to stop running. I remember seeing one man carrying a bird cage through the streets while ash covered his shoulders. Another woman held two children so tightly they could barely move. People were no longer thinking clearly. Fear had taken over everything. I felt terrified. But I stayed. I don't even fully remember why. Maybe because leaving suddenly felt just as dangerous as remaining. And then, the screaming changed. At first, the city sounded frightened. Now it sounded hopeless. That is the part I still remember most. The moment people realized they were probably going to die. Some cried openly in the streets. Some prayed out loud. Some simply sat beside loved ones and waited. The panic was fading. They understood escape might no longer be possible. One bakery was discovered centuries later with loaves of bread still inside the oven. Its owner never returned. That detail has always stayed with me, because even as the world was ending, someone was still baking bread. That's how ordinary the day had once felt. Then came the deadliest moment. A massive, superheated cloud exploded from Mount Vesuvius and raced toward Pompeii, faster than anyone could run. Ash, gas, fire, rock. A wall of death moving faster than a hurricane. The heat became impossible to describe. People who had survived the collapsing buildings suddenly collapsed where they stood. The air itself had become lethal. The screaming became quieter after that. Not all at once, just gradually, until eventually, all you could hear was the mountain. Within moments, entire streets disappeared beneath ash and darkness. And then, silence. By morning, Pompeii was gone, buried beneath volcanic ash for nearly 2,000 years. An entire city frozen in time. People preserved exactly where they spent their final moments. Some curled beside loved ones. Some covered their faces. Some still held jewelry, money, or children in their arms. Today, the ruins still remain. Silent streets, collapsed homes, shadows of ordinary lives interrupted forever. And sometimes when I look at the ruins now, I still think about that hot summer morning, when nobody in Pompeii realized they were already living through their final ordinary day.
The vault closes, but history remains.